You know, Timothy received a lot of direction and admonition from the Apostle Paul, not only for his life, but also for the followers that he would lead. But one of the directions that seems pretty difficult and strict come in 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 14. Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Monday. His urging began in verse 13, where he reminded him that he is living his life in the sight of God and before Jesus Christ, which was his greatest motivation. He says in verse 14, I urge that you keep this commandment without spot, blameless, until our Lord Jesus Christ's appearing. Now, it would be difficult to separate a commandment here within all the instructions that Paul has given to young Timothy and the directions he's given for the New Testament church to live by in those days. I'm sure he was referring to his collective commands upon all these believers. Now, if we are called to keep this commandment, we can refer to the wealth of directions that we receive from the Lord throughout the scriptures and, of course, Jesus' New Testament teachings. But the commandment that Jesus gave his disciples is written in John chapter 13 and verse 34. He said, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another. Even as I have loved you, you should love one another. He said, it is by this sign that all men will know that you are my disciples. An important commandment that we keep in this world today. Paul also wrote in 1 Timothy 1:5, the goal of our instruction is love from a pure heart and a good conscience. So he has also commanded that we love in our life and our work throughout this world. If we would be the servants of Jesus Christ, we must exhibit that kind of love. The commandments that Paul has given us are to be kept without spot and blameless. Now, we often give excuses that sort of rationalize our actions. You know, things like, well, I'm only human. Paul and Timothy and even Christ know that we are only human, yet they expect a higher level of accountability for our lives to keep this commandment without spot. I sometimes think, well, I can't even eat a meal without making a spot, maybe on my shirt or on my tie or something. But we're not talking so much about getting something on our clothing here. We're talking about a life of obedience that does not leave a spot on our Christian testimony. Or even worse, that our actions and our attitudes should leave a stain on Christianity and the name of Christ, whether it be in our life or in our church or even in our community. You know, Paul's directive was that we keep his word and his commandments blameless in our lives. Now, while some may think this is impossible, this is just a dream that we'll never fail or never stumble in our walk with Christ. Well, yes, but what kind of goal do we expect Paul to set for his followers and believers? Do we expect him to say, listen, don't mess up too often or too badly, and when you do, don't really feel bad about it? No, the bar has been set high for a reason. You see, God says he is a holy God. He even calls upon us and says, be ye holy, for I am holy. So he is directing us to live our best life for him, striving to keep a blameless and spotless record in our Christian testimony. He goes on to say, until our Lord Jesus Christ's appearing. So this command is not something that we keep while we're young or even easier when we get older. This calling for the believer is a full lifetime down here or until Jesus comes to receive his own, that we follow his commandments blameless and without spot. You see, following Christ is not a short-lived commitment. It's not just a simple rule. It is a lifetime where Jesus said, take up your cross and follow after me. And I hope we're willing to do that today and every day.